All right, class, welcome back. This is class number 5. This is coaching theory. Coaching theory is that required course that that we want everybody to take. It's really a semester-long advising course. We go over a bunch of questions at the first part of the semester just to get your mindset into things that you're going to have to be responsible for. If we were back in class live, you would be with a mentor coach out in the field. You'd literally have to be going out and meeting with a coach or somebody in your field. You'd be asking them questions. You'd be reporting back. Obviously, with COVID, we're trying not to get people to go out and about, especially with folks we don't know if they've been tested or not. And so we've had to kind of revamp the class, but we're still doing all the questions, except you just got to be a little more introspective. And then there's some requirements that we have, and that's your matrix, and that will be due at the end of the semester with everything that's in it. So your whole grade is dependent upon having a completed matrix. And if you look at the syllabus, you'll see how it's broken down, and you'll get your grade if you got everything in there. Everybody should make an A in this class as long as you follow along. Now, if you don't follow along and you just put this stuff off, you get towards the end of the semester, you're not going to be able to completely have this matrix done. And so I'm counting on you staying up to date with me. I'd like to go over a couple of things with you before we get started. One, I'm wearing my Apopka Blue Darter. It's a local high school, a local football power. Their past head coach, dear friend of mine. Their current head coach, their staff, dear friend of mine. Boy, they coach it well. My son's at Edgewater. We won a big game Friday night against Winter Park. Popka beat Dr. Phillips. Just fun, even though we don't know if we're going to play from week to week because we have to go through a COVID test this week. And we got 90 players, managers, trainers, coaches, and so who knows. But I still like coaching. I still like being out there, and this was in the closet. And I love Apopka, so decided to wear their colors. Obviously, Knights had a great game. That was awesome. Big win up at East Carolina. And boy, they're looking good right now. This is a class to get you prepared. That's what it's all about. If you need to remember where you are, look on your itinerary. Your itinerary is on WebCourse. And you can look inside of the WebCourse and pull out your itinerary, which is inside of your syllabus. We started with a bunch of questions. We're going to do 3 sets of questions. And then you got some requirements, as you know, that you had to do. And then this last time we had a matrix check. Our next matrix check will be in 2 more weeks, except it's going to be a live Zoom class. Okay, it'll be a live Zoom class, and I'll go over that with you in just a minute. You got to be there. Instead of you coming by my office, we're just going to meet collectively on a Zoom call. We're going to meet during class time. That's 1:30 p.m. On a Monday. I'll let you know that's in 2 weeks. I'll make sure you have that date. I'll make sure I give you the Zoom link, and we'll be ready to go from there, okay? So kind of put that on your calendar. 2 weeks from this Monday. This is the 28th that I sent this out, and so for 2 weeks you will then have a live Zoom class. I'll give you that date in just a minute to make sure you put it. And I'll put the Zoom link in the email next week, so you'll have that. We started with we started with vision, goals, and standards. Vision, goals, and standards. You got to know why you do what you do. You got to have man, this is something I want to do in life, the passion. And then once you do that and you start having that vision, then you can set goals and you understand their standards and you'll do really well. But you got to know, you're in a major now. But you got to get beyond just saying I'm in a major. I'm in the kinesiology part. Maybe some of you in sport and exercise science. Yeah, that's fine. That's what you are in, but that's not what you are going to be doing. What are you going to be doing? And remember, we kind of had a 10-year look at it. What do I want to be doing in 10 years? And we want to get you prepared so when you leave college, you have a plan. Your plan. So this class is all about you, not about me. It's all about you. So I'm going to pause here. I'm going to come back, and we're going to start second questions, 2.0. Today, you just got some questions to answer. That's all you got. Just got to answer some questions to get your mind thinking. Write them down. You're not putting them in your matrix yet. Next week, I will tell you what's required for your matrix. This week is just to get you thinking along the line of where we want to kind of go with this set of questions. So I'll pause here. I'll come back, and we'll get started on 2.0. All right, thanks. Okay, this week we are going to be looking at a topic, safe sport environment. One of the things that we have to understand as professionals is we got to create a safe environment, that where we do our activities. So you need to have that in your mindset, whatever you're going to do, whatever your career goals are that we looked at this first part of the semester, and you see yourself doing this in 10 years. The idea now is that you create a safe environment to do so. This week there are 10 questions. Now some of the questions have parts to them. I'll write the heading of the questions on there, but listen, just listen. Now what's your job this week? Write them out. Do some exploring. If you've got to Google a little bit, that's fine. Just kind of think. I want you to get your mind in this process of what we're doing. Last set of questions, vision, goals, and standards, kind of where you're going, your career, how do you get there? But now we got to create that safe sport environment. So I'm going to give you 10 questions. You write them down, you answer them. And then next week I'm going to give you an assignment for each of the questions. And that's what will have to go into the matrix. But you need to be thinking about these questions this week in order to do the assignment next week. If we were back in class, these questions would be the questions that you are asking your mentor, your coach, the person, you'd be asking them these questions. You'd come back next week and we would talk, and I would give you what your assignments are. So we're doing the exact same thing we would do in class, except you're not going out. But I don't want to ever stop you from making calls. If you know a coach, you know somebody in your field, you want to talk to them, it's awesome. Okay? Because that's really getting you prepared. So here we go. Safe sport environment. 12 questions. I'll kind of write them one at a time, and then I'll maybe put 2 or 3 up here, and then I'll erase it. We'll continue. Number one deals with bullying and hazing. Here's the question. Have you ever seen or been a part of bullying or hazing behavior? We're talking about when people use their authority or their position to assert something over someone else. Have you ever been a recipient of being bullied? Have you ever seen bullying or hazing? Hazing is a scheduled activity. It's very interesting. A lot of it goes on. A lot of it's not reported. I want you to think about that, and I want you to write a little sentence or two to remind yourself what you say. I'm not asking you anything about it. I just want you to get your mindset. Have you ever seen it? Athlete to athlete, or maybe a coach to an athlete where they bullied somebody. We really need to think about that. I've got a story of a few years ago where I got asked to come in and do an evaluation of a hazing incident that took place at a high school. And it had to do with a varsity locker room and a freshman locker room. Varsity locker room and a JV locker room. And one of the JV athletes went into the varsity athlete and they did something to the athlete. They actually, it could be bullying or it could be hazing. If it was scheduled, that'd be hazing. Bullying is just something you kind of do at the spur of the moment. And they took the athlete and they said, you can't come in here, and a bunch of the varsity athletes turned him upside down and put him in a trash can. And it really affected the athlete, the young man. It affected him in a lot of ways. Physically, he got hurt. Mentally, he went through a lot of tough times. And the question is, who was responsible for that? Should that have been seen by the coach? You're not answering that today. You're just thinking about this. Because in sport and in activities that go on outside the school, especially when we're nights, weekends, traveling, weird behaviors can take place sometimes. Okay, you know how it is. So your first question, have you ever seen bullying or hazing? And write out the scenario. Okay? Safe sport environment. Number 2, I want you to look at the structures of your activity. I want to talk to you about that. Structures. That means things that are fixed. If you're a baseball coach, we're talking about fences and backstops. Football, we're talking about goalposts. And basketball coaches, we're talking about stands and the basketball rims and goals. Things that are they're not moved. They're there all the time. If you're a weight room coach, things that are fixed in place. Okay? Strength coach. Whatever your activity is. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to list everything. Let me put this in a different color. That is either padded, okay, padded, protected, or needs inspection. Okay, so I really want you to think about where you do your activity and what needs to be padded, some kind of padding around it, or protected, set aside so many feet apart, protected, or maybe inspected to make sure that it's legal or solid. We're talking about structures, fixed things, okay? Think about the environment. That's practice fields, that's game fields, okay? Or if you're in a basketball court, or your strength coach in the weight room, whatever it is that you do, I want you to list things that are padded, protected, or inspected. I think you get what I'm talking about. We're responsible for that. And I can't tell you, I can't give you a list as your professor because there's 40-something different sports. Gymnastics is different than soccer. Okay? That was number 2. Okay? Number 3. Now I'm going to erase this, so don't get confused. Number 3, okay, deals with equipment. Equipment. Now, what's the difference between equipment and structures? Equipment are things that they're movable. Baseball, we're talking about helmets and bats. Football, obviously, helmets and shoulder pads and shoes. Okay, things that are movable, things that are taken up and taken down. There's a lot of things that we take out to the field or out to the pitch or onto the court, and then we bring it back in afterwards. So if we think about track, we would think about a hurdle being a piece of equipment. Okay, the track itself would be a structure. Okay, if you have a pole vault pit and you've got standards that are taken out, that would be equipment. All right, if you've got something that's fixed, like a goalpost that doesn't go in and out, it stays there, we're talking about a structure. And with equipment, things that need to be padded, protected, or inspected. Give you an example, a baseball or softball bat. Okay, what would you have to do with those? Padded, protected, inspected. Now, how do you do that? You can look it up. Google it. What makes a legal bat? But only in your sport or your activity. I hope you get this. This is important. All right. That's questions 1 through 3. Okay. Let's go with number 4. Question number 4. Question number 4 is, how do you monitor, I'm going to write the word monitor, nutrition of your athlete, or if you're a strength coach, the ones that are in the weight room, if you're a trainer, those that you're training. How do you monitor nutrition? We know nutrition is very important, and I really want you to think about the adolescent. See, it's real easy to say, oh, I'm in a Division I college and we have a full-time nutritionist. You know how many full-time nutritionists there are in public schools and gyms and strength facilities, and like 0. But yet we know the importance of nutrition. So how would you monitor that? I just want you to think. You know it's important. We know the importance of nutrition, but how do we monitor? Monitor means how do we see what's happening. Not asking you to be a nutritionalist. I'm actually asking you to know what's going on. See, so often in football, we'll tell kids, man, you need to get bigger. You need to gain weight. That just means 3 Big Macs instead of 1. What are we teaching? So how would you monitor? Give that some thought. You're not a nutritionist. You're not going to have the time probably to do a nutritional log with all your athletes. But how do you monitor it? It's a great question. Number 5. What is your hydration plan? We all know that water access is hugely important in hydration. So what's your plan? How do you make sure that the athletes or whoever you're coaching or teaching or leading or training, that they have enough water? Where do they get it from? What is your hydration plan as a coach? Hydration is so important. Remember the topic? Safe, sport, environment. How do you make sure that you have proper hydration? Okay. Let's go to I think you got that down. Nutrition, hydration. Let's go to number 6. I think you see where we're going with this. You're beginning to think now like a coach. What are the most common injuries in your sport or your activity? And then there's a second part of this question, and it's a tough one. How do you prevent them? What are the most common injuries in your sport, your activity, whatever takes place? It's nothing that's more, you got a great athlete and he has a high ankle sprain. And all of a sudden you find out you got 2 or 3 kids have ankle sprains. And man, ankle sprain will take you out. Can't play, can't go hard. That's a common injury in my sport. How would I prevent these? I'm not a doctor. I'm not an athletic trainer. But are there ways to prevent these? I want you to be thinking about that. Think about your sport and the most common injuries and how do you prevent them? Number 7, how do you access, in other words, get to, how do you access medical care? Of a hurt, and you can fill in the blank. If you're a coach, it's an athlete. If you're a trainer, it's the ones you're training, the ones that you're supervising. How do you access? In other words, they're hurt. They need to seek medical attention. It's not something that you can handle. How do you access? How do you go from they're hurt to seeking medical attention? Somebody who says, I know what to do with this. This is not about calling 911. That's always a great case if there's a traumatic injury, especially when something really bad's happening, life-threatening injury. You're not sure what to do. 911 is always a great call. Remember, don't forget to get your CPR and first aid certificate. You got to have that for this class. Okay, it's a quarter grade. Got to have it, both CPR and first aid. You can do it through the Rec and Wellness Center online, but they might be full already. Don't know how they're doing with COVID, but you also can do it online. Get it. All right, and part of that is to call 911 when you have a medical need that is seemed dangerous, life-threatening. But we're talking about you're out there and somebody, I don't know if they, wow. I don't know if that's a sprain or a broken leg. I don't know. They need medical attention. Obviously, 911 is the extreme case. That's good. There's never anything wrong with that. But in many cases, it's not life-threatening. It's not traumatic. But what do I do? Who do I see? How do we enter into the medical profession as a coach, as a supervisor? You think about that. Now remember, nothing is due this week, but you need to jot some things down. You need to go online and look. Remember, if you were in class, you'd be asking your mentor out there in the field, you'd be asking, what do they do? That's why I like this class a lot live. But that's okay. We're doing good. All right? That's number 7. Number 8. Number 8. How do you help an athlete or those that you coach get beyond their fear? Okay? Fear, interesting word, after coming back from an injury. In other words, they've been hurt. You've sought medical attention. They've gone through whatever protocols. Maybe it was surgery and then rehab, or maybe it wasn't surgery, it was just rehab, or maybe it was just rest. And they've been cleared. The medical professional says they're cleared to play. But we all know you're nervous when you've been hurt. Now you're cleared, so it's not about them hurting more. They're physically able to go. How do you help them get beyond the fear? What do you do? Because it's a mental thing now, and it's real. So again, Google it, ask it. Ask a coach if you don't know. Ask somebody what they do. Again, if we're back in class, you'd be asking your coach that. Really want you to think about that, okay? How do you get beyond the fear? It's a big thing coaches have to deal with, okay? All right. We got 9 and 10. I'm going to change this up because 9 is an interesting one. This is an assignment you have to do this week in order for you to answer the question next week that's due in your matrix. I want you to keep a list, and you need to think when you're going to start this. I usually say 7 days. I'm going to say 5 days. So 5 days, you pick the day you want to start. Today, when you open this up, start of the class, or tomorrow. But 5 consecutive days. Let me write that. Let me make sure I put consecutive. I want you to list everything that you eat and drink for 5 days. Now, you've got to really think. Now, it's a list. I don't care how you do it. Some of you have an app, so it's no big deal. You're entering the app. You have a fitness nutritional app. Some of you have a journal. Some of you have never done this. I'm not asking you to analyze it yet. I'm not asking you to see if you're good or bad nutrition. I'm not asking that. All I'm asking you to do is to keep a journal for 5 consecutive days, everything you put in your body. Everything. And try to put quantities if you can. If you can, it's okay. I mean, you don't have to think through. And you can label it. If you went to Burger King and you got a Whopper, you could say Burger King Whopper. You don't have to say burger, bun, tomato. You can say Burger King Whopper all the way. Tuna fish sandwich. Okay. But I want to know everything, including what you drink. That's water, that's cold drinks, that's alcohol. You're not turning it in. Nobody is judging you. Boy, if you looked at my list from this past weekend, I got convicted I deal with some high cholesterol, and no, it's not true. Last Saturday, as you know, I coached at FSU for a while, so I'm a big Noel fan. Obviously, I love the Knights, and so we grilled out a little bit, and it was good. Except you know what I was grilling. What I was grilling wasn't real good for you, but they were sure good. Bratwurst. So bratwurst. I don't know what's in bratwurst, but I know it's pretty high fat. And that was what we had for lunch, and I was watching UCF, and they were doing great, and I was enjoying my bratwurst. And then I watched the FSU game Saturday night against Miami, the worst defeat in the history of FSU against Miami, and made me nauseous. But not nauseous enough not to eat. I ate pizza. And every time it seemed like Miami scored, I wanted another piece of pizza. Now, I know what my nutritional value would be eating bratwurst and pizza for Saturday. And on Sunday, I had a conviction. I can't do that again. That's okay. Because when I write it down, I go, okay. So it's not about being perfect. I was bad on Saturday. But I need to write it down. And we'll tell you why next week in your assignment. So write it down, 5 days worth. Everything you eat. I don't care what you keep. You can write on a piece of paper. But keep it, okay? It's very important. All right, that's number 9. Let's do the last one. Number 10. Number 10. Monitor. How do you monitor supplements or supplement use in those that you train or coach? Now we're talking legal supplements. I just want to make sure. We're really going to talk in this class about legal supplements. I'm not talking about EPO and injecting steroids and all that. What I'm talking about is supplements, things that aren't necessarily in something that we eat, but it's something we add. That's what supplement means, to add on to. Creatine, whey protein. It's amazing what's out there. Vitamins, enhancers. And kids today are so susceptible to the marketing campaigns that go on. And as coaches and those that we train, we can't necessarily tell them not to because we're not their parents, but we need to know what's out there. So how do you think you would monitor supplements? How do you know what they're taking? How do you know what the hot deal is? And you'll have an assignment to do next week. When I was years ago, and it's still very popular, years ago, the big supplement for a high school player that wanted to get stronger was creatine. Creatine. Well, when you get creatine and it says, mix it with water, and we know it helps the ADP process inside the muscle cells. So if it says 1 scoop does this, and you're a 16-year-old, what's your general thought? Well, if 1 scoop makes me look like that picture on the front of that can of creatine, or jar of creatine, bottle of creatine, why not 2 scoops? Well, if 2 scoops, why not 3? That's the mindset because of what marketing puts out there. And then all of a sudden we went through this time period where we're having this dangerous time in the lives of athletes taking too much creatine, actually shutting and blocking the kidneys down, couldn't filter. And we had things like a lot of cramping going on, but even more traumatic experiences than that. How would you monitor that? Now those are your 10 questions. This week, think on those. Next week, when we come back, I'm going to give you an assignment for what has to go in your matrix based on those 10 questions. All right, I'm going to pause now. I'm going to come back. I'm going to talk about the next 2 weeks and how we'll progress through the rest of the semester. All right, thank you. All right, let's move forward. This week, what do you got to do? What do you got to do this week? This week. answer the 10 questions. Spend some time with them. Next week, I'm going to give you the assignment, and there are a lot. You got a lot to do next week. Assignments that will go into the matrix. When do you turn the matrix in? Into the semester. Because we got this set of questions, and then we got one more set of questions, and then we're going to start looking at things like your plan of study and your professional associations you need to be a part of and the certification you need to have before you enter the field. So we got a lot to do, but we got to frame it well. Then in 2 weeks, and I believe the date, I think I got it right, is October the 12th. October the 12th at 1:30 p.m., which, by the way, is when our class is. It's normally when our class is, 1:30 p.m. We will do a live Zoom call. And we will talk about your matrix. If we were in class, you'd be bringing it by my office. And we would just have a discussion, see where you are. So we can do that on a Zoom call. Okay, we don't have to be there all that long. I'm not going to talk to every one of you. I'm just going to say, hey, what questions do you have? How does it look? What are you good? Is everything good? We'll just have a time to make sure everybody's caught up. But that's a requirement. Class meets at 1:30. So you got 2 weeks. If you're working or doing something, see if you can break away for half an hour to an hour. So you can do a live Zoom call. That's in 2 weeks. I will send you the Zoom link next week on the email so you can have that and be ready to go when we meet. Okay? So that kind of sets it up. I'm proud of you. Haven't seen you, but I still just very much value who you are, those who want to be in our profession, and it's going to be awesome as you get a plan, your plan. We call this a plan of success, or your success formula of success, for you to have a plan to go forward. So I look forward to being with you next week, giving you the actual assignments for your matrix. All right, remember, if you got any questions or concerns, text me. Many of you do, 321-278-0495. I can't text you, you can text me. Identify yourself, say, hey, I'm so-and-so in the theory class, got this question or concern, all right? I would rather you do that, because if you email me, I'll get back with you. I just can't get back with you as quick. Texting, I might be out on the practice field and got a water break. Oh, so-and-so needs this, and I can help you quickly, all right? All right, God bless you. Stay safe. Let's get through this crazy time so we all can get back together. All right? Good. See you next week.